coaches, what's kind of your mindset to keep up the momentum from the Oregon State one?
Mindset is to keep the kids focused on exams. It's a really important week for us. It's an important week for the kids to close the semester out the right way. You put a lot into school and baseball and travel, and they need to do a good job finishing up strong. And then from there, keep them sharp around their classwork and study time. And then obviously just kind of working around Mother Nature a little bit right now. So this is one of those weeks where you just got to be flexible with your kids. Make sure you allow them the time to study, get them fresh, and then I'm glad it's an OU series after exams because I think that immediately pulls your focus back together and the adrenaline that kicks in when you go travel and play in big venues in front of big crowds, I think will help get the kids back in the moment. But, you just work around exams, keep the kids fresh, and try to stay sharp.
What's their schedule like this week as far as kind of scheduling and practices with finals?
Well, all these pieces of paper are attempts at scheduling, but just to try to make sure that you don't get in the way of the kids' blocks of time that they need. Some of these kids are taking some really challenging classes, and they need large chunks of time to make sure they're ready. So we try to either do small group work, very short in the mornings. That way they're free up all afternoon. Or on occasion we try to go at night. But I just think the weather this week, the way it's been, it's a tough week to try to go at night. So we'll just probably sneak something in here today and then see how the weather is tomorrow.
Obviously, they made a statement with that Oregon State sweep. What do you think that proved about your team this year?
Well, it proved a lot. More about to us as a group, just how important it is to be strong-minded and to not let previous results dictate your future, whether good or bad. We had a tough weekend the weekend before, and then bounced back and had a great weekend. But if you date yourself back even prior to that, we'd swept Texas prior to going to Lubbock. So learning to be consistent, learning to be in the moment, and not letting previous days leak into the next day. And I compliment the kids for some of the leadership that the guys themselves put on display on the field. I think that was an awesome thing to watch as a coach. Made me really, really proud of them more than anything, just to see the way they went back at it. And I was super proud of them. And obviously the wins they're big in the grand scheme of things, but the bounce back and the toughness and the decision to let go of the disappointment and move forward it's a step in the right direction. And it's also a big part of maturing and growing up, becoming more of a just a strong-minded competitor, strong-minded person.
Of course, Parker Scott had battled injury before. How much does it impact the team to have him healthy and as a starting pitcher now?
Well, it's big. When Parker's sharp, he's pretty darn good, and compliment that kid. He had a long road back from his injury, and we've seen a couple of outings where he's been awfully good, and he's still kind of getting his endurance built up. He continues to work his tail off, and he's getting stronger. But really proud of him, for he missed the better part of 2 seasons, and he's had some outstanding outings during the year, in particular the Texas one, and he continues to gut it out. So I think there's a bright future for him, and we need him to be good down the stretch. He's certainly capable of doing that.
Jensen Elliott is a guy who, Texas Tech aside, 2 of his last 3 starts, looks like he's been pretty dominant right now. What are you seeing from him?
2 of his last 3 starts have been really, really good. I think it was him working his way kind of through his delivery and his arsenal of pitches and really settling back into sinking the ball, throwing the changeup, using the slider rather than trying to overpower guys, really pitch. His freshman year, he was a very advanced pitcher for his age. He did a lot with the ball in terms of movement and location and changing speeds. And, he too missed the better part of 2 years with injury. And over that time, he got stronger, he got bigger, he started to throw the baseball harder. And then now as he's putting his game back together, he's now more complete. And now that he's using his skills to move the ball, locate the ball, along with that added strength, I think he's only going to keep getting better, right? But probably the aggression and confidence in the pace that he worked against Texas and Oregon State, for me, were noticeable. He was the aggressor. He was on the attack. He was pitching fast. Both those games probably took 2 hours and 20 minutes when you look back on them. So there's something to that tempo and pace that I think really stood out. And the outing in between, Texas Tech's a heck of an offensive team. Sometimes you just got to say they're a very difficult lineup, and if you didn't make your pitches, they'll hurt you. So you move on past that one and tighten your own game back up. But I'm really proud of the second half adjustments he's made, and we'll need him to just continue to be himself.
So after he came back and you said, like, he was stronger,
Yep.
he kind of started to get away from some of the things that made him good earlier.
I think probably like any kid, when you rehab and you work on strengthening your body, you work on arm strength, you go play in an elite league like Cape Cod where basically everybody's up there comparing notes, and notes nowadays amongst players are how hard do you throw, right? So I think it's very natural for players to, kind of move their focus around. But I think what he's really done a good job of, and I know he and Rob had some pretty lengthy bullpen sessions, was really settling back into what makes him a really effective pitcher and finding his natural arm slot, and then trusting that those are indeed his best pitches. And I think he's very confident and sound in that now. So I think it's just been a little bit of a journey back to finding his comfort zone. But I think he definitely knows when he's in it now. He says, okay, that's definitely me.
Coach, I'm Peyton Batfield off some 2 outings over the weekend. But how beneficial is for him to be on that, that relief or even closer role for you?
Yeah. Well, every year you got to have, stoppers in the bullpen, guys that can come in and stop rallies or protect leads or pitch those pivotal moments late in games with runners on base. And Peyton's done that this year awfully well. Funny's brother Blake did it too. So those Battenfield kids have a good instinct how to pitch with some pressure on them. I'll give Daryl Battenfield some credit for that. But he and Shelly have raised 2 good kids, and those boys both have handled pitching with guys on base. They've embraced being relief pitchers, which all pitchers like the idea of being a starting pitcher. But where would you be as a team if you didn't have great relief pitching? And I think, to Peyton's credit, he said, hey, I like that role. I want the ball. And he likes the fact that he could pitch multiple times per week rather than just once. So he's embraced his role. He's taken great pride in it. He's really done a great job. And, he came in last Friday night and pitched 2 beautiful innings against Oregon State, worked right through the tough part of their lineup, turned right back around the next day and did the same thing. So, that's a big piece of the game, to get those late outs with the game on the line. And Peyton's done a heck of a job for us.
Where's your confidence level right now with this team after such a great performance in Corvallis, now going into Bedlam? Can that help, or are you worried about you guys being maybe overconfident, or is that a problem at all?
We don't get overconfident around here. I've liked this team since day one. I like them because of who they are. I like the fact that they enjoy the time together with each other. The road for us has actually been a great place because we spend more time together. We're more focused. The post-game meals are some of the more entertaining moments of my coaching career with these kids, because there's just something about them. They like each other. And so I know where these kids are at. They care deeply about what we're doing. They work hard at the game every single day. Do I want them confident? Absolutely, always. But I think they also respect the game enough to know that the minute you take your eye off your training, your preparation, and lose focus, the game will get you, period. And we've experienced that throughout the course of the year. So those things I don't worry about at all, because there's enough maturity amongst the bunch that they know better. The things that we focus on are just getting prepared and having a clear focus on what we need to do. And then we've just really been talking about executing the game one pitch at a time. And I'm confident that last weekend helped prove to them that when we do that, we can go out and put together great baseball against anybody.
Well done.
Ask of all the ebbs and flows of the year. Does Oregon State become something you hold up in front of them, saying this is who you can be if you
It's a
play
good
to your potential?
Yeah, I think you don't want to downplay the quality of that series, because I don't know, somebody said nobody had done that since 1947, go in there and sweep them in a non-conference series. So obviously that's not an easy thing to do, but I think what you're trying to show your team is your best baseball, when put up against someone else's best baseball, is really good. Now, how do we just duplicate our performance and focus on those things? And if we can continue to do that, which I think the players understand now, then you got a chance to do something special with your season, right? And some seasons you discover that early, and then you try to carry it. Some seasons the schedule forces you to grow up until you discover it, and then maybe you get your hands around it. So yeah, this season has been really challenging from the standpoint of we played a lot of good baseball teams. I think Big 12 baseball is excellent, and you look back at the great run West Virginia's been on in our conference, and some of the high-end pitching that we faced in our conference, and some of the teams whose records maybe are a little bit in the middle of the pack, but are still very talented teams. So our conference has been preparing us all year long for what I think could be a well-rounded ball club. And that trip to Oregon State just helped confirm for our players that Big 12 baseball is really strong, because they walked away from there saying, Oregon State's a good team, but we've been playing good teams every weekend. And so I think we're just growing into being the best that we can be.
You don't often have games in Norman in the Bedlam Series. What do you expect for the guys going into that environment?
Should be good. We've been over there, played midweek 3 or 4 times since I've been back, and I mean it's fun. I mean, I think that's why you do this. It should be something that we look forward to. It's it's a turf field. We've played a lot of games on turf lately, so we'll be used to playing on the different surface. And from what I remember, it's pretty spacious in the outfield. It's a bigger park in the middle of the field, so it's definitely a ballpark that we'll need to get in there on Sunday and take some BP and get used to the way it feels. But most of our players have all played a game or two down there at a minimum.
Is this as close as you've seen the Big 12? It feels like Tech's getting pretty hot right now, but it feels like anybody can take a series off anybody.
Yeah, I think the Big 12, you watch your opponent so much on film now, and in watching the team you're getting ready to play, you get really familiar with the other teams. So I know watching film, Baylor's really good. Texas Tech's obviously, in my opinion, a very, very well-rounded team. And having played the other teams already, there's just a lot of power arms. There's a lot of incredibly talented individual players when you look across our conference. There's, I think, 5 or 6 kids right now projected first-round draft choices out of the Big 12. I don't remember a year like that in quite some time. So there's some elite-level players. There's some very well-rounded teams. And, there's some coaching staffs that are very prepared. So the games have been very, very high level. One pitch here or there can shift a game. And I've been saying it for a long time. Big 12 baseball is really good. I hope people continue to, see that and make sure that our league is represented in the postseason by 4 and 5 and 6 teams. I hear about all these other conferences think they deserve 10 teams. Well, I think we deserve 6.
You mentioned Parker building some endurance. How impressed are you with the job Rob's done to be able to, lay out these rotations?
Mm-hmm. Well, Rob does a great job. I've said it since day one. There's been no greater comfort I could have ever asked for in getting hired as a head coach than to have a wingman like that knows his craft, knows the game, been a head coach, knows how to make tough decisions, and has great instincts and experience in putting together pitching staff. So, he's done a great job with this group of kids, and putting the rotation together and balancing all the kids out. That's definitely something over the course of a season, that there's some years you might start out one way and just roll with it, and it might not change much. And some years you have to adjust as you go. This has been a year we've had to adjust as we've gone, but I think you see kids really settling into the right roles now. Logan Gregg's transition to the bullpen, I think, is really paying off now. His outing at Oregon State was magnificent. And so just watching different kids find a comfort zone, putting guys in roles that they're mentally equipped to be successful, and then bringing guys back along who maybe were out for a period of time and helping them get confident again and find their groove, and then managing them throughout the season. Those are all great challenges that pitching coaches have.
Coach, on a personal note, how enjoyable was it Monday to get away and see Matt and Jackson go to state?
It was awesome. That was actually a pretty cool thing to see. Go to Couch Park and watching my family and watching my nephew play, and obviously it's my high school, and that was pretty cool. What a great game, and it's neat for our family to all be together. My mom, my dad, my brother, his wife, all their kids, my wife, all our kids, just out there watching high school baseball games, like community, that you kind of dream of, kind of like full circle again. So it's pretty awesome.
You able to sneak Next be tomorrow or probably not?
Don't know yet. Yeah, I would like to. I very much would like to. We'll just have to kind of see what time of the day we can practice around the weather. But yeah, that's been fun to. My daughter's in 9th grade now, so I feel pretty connected to the high school scene as far as what's going on with high school athletics and the kids that play. So yeah, that's something we're real proud of those kids and proud of the kids in this community that that go out. You start to know their parents and watch those kids grow up. It's pretty cool to see them that excited. The kid that got the last out, as I'm watching it, his father's my best friend since 4th grade. You just sit there and shake your head and ask yourself, where's the time gone? I mean, but it's really cool.
What's the secret to your success in this series? What's his record?
Oh,
Coach, 27-8, 20,
That's pretty good.
21-6.
21-7.
Really good.
Is that you?
No.
Is that all you?
No. I think when players go out and play well and embrace the moment and enjoy the competition and realize it's a chance to really be yourself and be free versus maybe getting to a moment and being intimidated by a moment or being a little bit hesitant to really let your game out. As a coach, it's all you want to see your team do is just go out and be yourself, and in the moment in time you get to play your best and never look back. And when sometimes certain series or certain environments, sometimes people might treat it as if it's more than what it is. It's the same game we've been playing. It's sometimes played in front of more people or on a different diamond, but you just want to see your team play well. We've had a lot of really good players here, and I would say all the all the good moments and memories that have been created by a bunch of gritty kids that are just going out there and playing ball, and that's all you ever want to see. And obviously, I have a great coaching staff. They prepare and do an awesome job. But no, success is always shared, and other than that, you don't change your approach. You just keep going.
Is your perspective on the rivalry different than it was when you played in it?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think when you played in it, you felt a sense of how would you describe it? When I was first time I ever got to play in this series was 1996, and we used to play 5 games in the Big 8, and so you'd play the 3 Friday in Tulsa, Saturday and Sunday at All Sports Stadium in Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. And on Tuesday, we played in Norman, and on Wednesday, we played in Stillwater. So you played each other 5 times in less than a week, 5 times in 6 days, I believe it was. So it was different because it was so much. It was too much, to be honest with you. That's probably why these videos that are popping up, about the teams fighting back in the day, because you put really competitive athletes in a competitive environment 5 times in 6 days, and someone's going to get irritated. And back then it was more, what would you say? It was more acceptable to get hostile. That's not the way it is now. So yeah, I think when you played, there was a sense of hostility and conflict and combat. Like we're going out there to battle, right? And that's how the games felt. They took on a little bit more of a, because you played so much more, and then you didn't play in front of those kind of crowds all that often. So those games felt different when you played them. They did. They made you feel kind of like there was more riding on it than maybe you did the previous weekend when you played whomever. So I do remember that emotion. I remember putting that uniform on, feeling like this feels like a battle, and in the sense of sport, obviously. But when it transitioned from 5 games to the Big 12, and then over time, that lessened to some degree a bit. But I think when it used to be 5 games and rotating around all the different venues, it was a little bit of a grudge match as far as that was a lot of baseball in a short amount of time. Coaching it, I think you're just managing your players to make sure they don't get over the top and keep them in that happy zone of intense and focused and on edge, but not too much, because we know that can work against us. So you don't over advertise the series, but you certainly don't downplay it.
Right.
I would never want to sit here and not be transparent with the kids about the importance of playing well in the series. I mean, it does matter. And so to sit here and try to act like it doesn't would be not true to them. And they know that. Trust me, they know me well enough to know I'm going to tell them the truth about So just try to do the best you can to stay absolutely focused on the pitch and not overplay the pitch. But yet at the same time, the kids know this is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, it does. It feels different. Yeah, as a coach, you got to be much more in control. Like as a player, you felt a little bit more, on edge.